Oh, go live. Ooh, I'm live. I'm always amazed when this stuff works. All right, here we go. Oh, is it working? I think it's working. Let's see. What does this say? This says I'm live. This says I'm live. Let's wait till people show up. Hello, 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 everyone. All right, we're going to hang out a little bit longer, give people about 5 minutes to show up. While we're waiting, if you have questions, make sure you just leave them in the chat. Are people coming? One of those times, if you throw a party and nobody comes, what do you do? Well, hey, there's somebody here. Hello, Vlad. Thanks for showing up. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to hang out a few more minutes. Let's wait till about 3:05 and I will dive in. But I'm glad somebody's here. Welcome, Vlad. If you have questions, if you have things you want me to cover, please let me know. Perhaps it'll be a private class for you today. But we'll do it anyway because this stuff is archived and will be available forever. Hey, there's Dawn. All right, now I've got friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Cool. I'm glad people are here. We'll give it 2 more minutes and we will dive in. I'm sort of having these flashbacks, remembering like nightmares of throwing a party that nobody showed up to. Hey, Alex, what's up? But now we've got a party. There's 3 people. That's cool. Gonna wait about 2 more minutes for people to show up. And as we're doing it, feel free to leave stuff in the comments. If there's stuff you want me to cover specifically, let me know. That's the cool thing about a private class. So yeah, that definitely makes things a lot more fun. I'm streaming with Riverside today, and I can't seem to figure out how to do a screen share and see me at the same time. So we'll have me here for a bit in the beginning, then we'll jump to the screen share, back to me for a bit, and then we'll code some stuff. I'm glad people came because I had fun time making a demo project for this one, with everybody being so crazy and cuckoo for points. I based my demo project on points. All right, 1 more minute and we dive in. I look so young, Dawn. It's the magic of the camera. Or the Botox. And maybe my youthful outfit. Yeah. I'll be 47 next year. Isn't that crazy? Shit happens quickly. Yeah, I'm 46.5 now. Or 46.6 even, I think. Yeah. I don't know, it happens quickly. But It's better than the alternative. You know, what do we have? You either get old or you die, right? So getting old's better than not getting old. But thank you. Yeah, getting old's better than not getting old. Well, I don't know. I think it's interesting because I was in tech in the 90s and I'm in tech now, and I find it much easier on my mental health now. It's easier to handle the ups and downs than it was when I was younger. So I'm definitely grateful for that. All right, cool. Well, we are going to dive in. Let's see this. Do the screen share here. Screen share. Let's go screen. What if I do presentation? No, screen share. Cool, entire screen. I think you're going to lose me when I do the screen share. It's my first time using Riverside to screen share. Let's see. All right, should be diving in. So, all right, cool, everyone. Big thanks for coming today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know it's the holiday time and people have gifts and stuff they want to do, but to be honest, one of the most fun things to do at the holiday time is to hide in your bedroom and go learn some cool stuff. So that's what I'm doing now. And what we're going to do, we're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about Provenance and what Provenance is and how Irys enables Provenance. And then we'll spend about 20 minutes going through a demo app I built, and then we'll have some time for questions. Of course, if you have to leave early, you can always leave your question in the chat. I'll make sure to get to them afterwards. Or you can just reach out to me on Twitter or on Discord. So cool. What is Provenance, right? Okay, let's go over here. We're gonna, I already covered this. So I think what's kind of fun to do before we dive into, what is Provenance, let's go through a little history lesson. In roughly 1983, right, the internet was invented. That's the internet's birthday. And soon after that, in 1995, commercial traffic on the internet was allowed. And this something, Dawn, you probably remember this, right? Prior to 95, it was illegal for any commercial traffic on the internet. You could only have, it was just, university or educational or military traffic only. There's no commercial traffic allowed. And then boom, the floodgates opened and commercial traffic was allowed, right? Okay. Then what happened at the next step? All right, so Web 2 happened, right? 2004, we had, what happened from Web 1, you had basically no content on the internet, and then Web 2 happened, and there was just this explosion of content on the internet. Soon after that, in 2014 or so, Web 3 started being a thing, and each step along the way, more and more content came out. And then boom, 2023, AI took over, right? Okay, so we had this progression, of content coming out step by step. Each step along the way, more and more content was created. But has that been a good thing? So, arguably, 95, you graduated from high school. Me too, same year. All right, rock and roll, Dawn. Okay, so what's happening, right? All along the way, we had more and more content coming out. In 95, if you had a website, you were either like a business with young customers, or you were a nerd, or you're an artist, okay? And then in 2004, when Web 2 happened, all of a sudden, everybody was a content producer. Everybody was sharing pictures of their breakfast with the world, thinking it was just fabulously interesting content. But then we had, so there's this proliferation of content. Some was good, some wasn't good. But then there started to be these murky aspects of it too. I think a lot of you remember the explosion of fake news that happened around the Donald Trump election. And, it's not, the point here isn't to go into politics, but the point here was that in 2016, people with millions and millions of dollars were able to create these troll farms where they were paying people huge amounts of money to generate fake news that was so convincing that it convinced people of things that weren't true. But it still took millions of dollars to do that. And then we fast forward till today, this AI revolution has made it so easy, has basically removed all obstacles to creating fake news. Before you had to spend millions of dollars to do it at scale. Now any of us could code for half a day, use the OpenAI APIs, and we could start producing quality fake news, fake content that could start to change the tide of how people think. So this is like the dangers that have happened as we have moved step by step along the way, producing more and more content. All right, let's dive back in some more. Here we go, share my screen. I'm not sure if I like this software or not. Okay, so what's the problem? We have murky attribution. There's lack of metadata to describe content. There's unverifiable authorship. And there's also weak assurances around who created content and when. Content's out there, but we don't know what it is, what it's about, who created it, or when it was created. So enter Irys. Irys is a provenance layer. And this architecture is a nice way to visualize it. At the bottom level, we have Arweave, where we store data permanently. And then above that, we have Irys as a provenance layer. Data comes into Arweave, or data comes into Irys. It's stamped with a millisecond accurate timestamp. And that's really important. It's unique in the blockchain space too, where often in blockchains, times are based on block time, which could be, a couple seconds or up to 10 minutes on Bitcoin. But with Irys, it's not millisecond accurate. You get attribution in the form of timestamps. So anybody can attribution. So you can create attribution in the form of metadata tags. So anybody can put any metadata tags associated with an upload and go ahead and upload it. And we also have an architecture that's highly scalable. Irys has been battle tested at 50, 60,000 TPS and really could scale to millions of TPS easily. When you upload to Irys, not only do you get a millisecond accurate timestamp, not only is there metadata attached to it, not only are there immutable creator details attached to it, but all of that is wrapped up in a cryptographically signed receipt that is trustlessly verifiable by anyone at any time. Cool, right? Okay, so I think sometimes though when we talk about these things like provenance, you can feel like, I don't know, it's hard to grok, right? Like a lot of times you can say, oh, timestamps and metadata and all this stuff. Well, it sounds fancy, it sounds important, right? So it should be important, but at the same time you sit down and you think about it and you're like, yeah, it sounds important, but I don't really it's not really making sense to me. I don't really get it. So I think a way to make this make sense is to look at how people are actually using it, how Irys's customers are actually using the product. And one of the first customers we had who was using Irys not just to store data permanently, but was using Irys as a provenance layer was Lens, when they released their Momoko scaling solution. Prior to using Irys, Lens was storing all their social media interactions on Polygon, and they moved over to Irys to store those, or they gave builders the option of where they wanted to store it. And you may think, okay, it's social media. What does social media have to do with provenance? Like, how does that fit in? Does provenance really apply to everything? Like, really social media too? Well, a way I like to imagine it is to think about the comment thread underneath a post. So say I post a picture of my lunch, and I'm really popular online, so people start to comment about how great my lunch looks, and this about my lunch, and that about my lunch. For those comments to have any sort of value, they need to be posted in the correct chronological order that they were actually created. If someone says, "Hey, where did you get that?" and someone says, here's a good example. What if someone says, "Hey, is that gluten-free?" and somebody else says, "Hey, is that vegan?" and I want to reply, "No, it's not gluten-free, but yes, it is vegan." If I said yes, it only makes sense in the context if it's tied to the right question. And that can only be done if there are correct timestamps that can be used to order those transactions, that can be used to order those comments. Now you may argue that, okay, in the scheme of things, Luke's breakfast doesn't really mean anything in life, but social media is used for a lot more than just posting pictures of my breakfast. Social media is used to hold politicians accountable. If a politician posts a promise online, we want to hold that politician accountable. And to hold that politician truly accountable, what we need is immutable creator details. We need proof that the politician said it. We need accurate timestamps, so we need proof when that was actually said. So in the context of social media, provenance brings true value, not just to social media, but to society as a whole. And in the context of social media, or in the context of using Irys, provenance brought true value to Lens when you talk about just saving money and making things faster. When Lens switched over to using Irys as a provenance layer, they started paying 1,000 times cheaper fees. Their base transaction fee was down to 0.0002 cents, and there was way lower latency. I mean, this is the holy grail, right? It was cheaper and faster, cheaper and faster. That's what we all strive for. let's look at some other customers, some other examples besides just social media. Solana Mobile is a fascinating one. Solana Mobile built when they launched their phone, the actual physical phone, the Saga phone that sold out once Bonk went crazy last week. When they lost this phone, though, they wanted to create a true Web3 app store, a Web3 app store where apps were stored on chain, and they did that by using Irys. They used an app. When you buy an app, it comes as an NFT. The NFT ownership is tracked on Solana, but the actual physical app is uploaded to Irys. And that's because on Irys, there's no limits to the size of files you can upload. You can upload, 3K, you can upload 300 gigabytes. There's no limits at all. All of it is stored on chain on Arweave. So Solana Mobile is able to leverage that by actually storing their APK files on Irys, which means they're permanently stored on Irys. But it's more than that. There's actually a lot more than that. They also use Irys' signed receipts to ensure security of the installs. So when a user installs an app on their phone, Solana Mobile internally checks if the receipt that Irys generated matches the receipt they check if the receipt that Irys generated matches the receipt of the app that's being installed at the time, and that's how it prevents man-in-the-middle attacks. So Irys has enabled Solana Mobile to hold their full apps on chain, but also to ensure the security of those installs. dBridge is a cross-chain messaging protocol. You may have used it to bridge your Solana or ETH from one chain to another one. They use Irys' permanence to ensure that their messages are always delivered no matter what. They're able to leverage they're able to leverage our architecture to ensure that even if they go down, their messages are still going to be delivered cross-chain. OmniX, this is a more common use case that's, I think, probably easier for most people to grok, and that they're using Irys for NFT storage. All right, cool. That's the overview. That's it. It's like 10 minutes. What have I talked? Yeah, 17 minutes. Well, really just 12 minutes. And that's the introduction to Provenance. So Provenance is immutable details about when something was created, what something is, and who created it. All right. So sounds confused. Well, that sounds like there's a lot to it, right? Is it confusing to code? Nah, it's really, really, really easy to code. All right, let's dive in some more. When you build with Irys, there's really two entry points. There's the Irys SDK, and that's used for permanently uploading data, also verifying receipts and things like that. And this is something we launched recently, is the Irys query package. And the Irys query package is it's a JavaScript interface you can use to query transactions on Irys, also on Arweave, and block information natively on Arweave too. It's really just a wrapper around GraphQL that makes it easier. Yes, Provenance is the receipt. So the query package is just a wrapper that sits around GraphQL that makes it much easier to query your transactions. Some benefits, sometimes people ask, well, okay, why upload through Irys when you could upload directly to Arweave? Well, one, because you get these cryptographically signed receipts. But there's more than that. When you use Irys to upload to Arweave, you have guaranteed finalization and guaranteed seeding to multiple miners. That means that even if Arweave forks or there's any sort of problem, your transaction gets dropped, we monitor that and we make sure that we always resubmit if there is a problem. You can pay for storage in any of 14 tokens, which is huge. You can pay in ETH, Solana, really all the popular cryptocurrencies. And it's neat because you pay a very small amount when you upload, and that upload is guaranteed to be there forever. You don't have to pay monthly fees. You don't have to worry about things down the line. But as long as Arweave exists as a blockchain, your data will be out there. And that means that, for creators, you really can, it's a nice feeling. It's knowing that if you create NFT artwork or other artwork, that artwork is going to outlive you. You don't need to pay your bills. You don't need to be alive. You don't need to be on the earth. Your data is going to be there. But also means that as builders, we can build applications that really create real value for users, because users can know that when they buy stuff through us, it truly is permanent. It doesn't depend on any sort of backend infrastructure existing except for Arweave, which will always be there, right? And it's easy to integrate and highly, highly scalable. Okay, cool. Let's dive in some more, right? When you work with Irys, Irys, I guess in many ways you can look at it as like a centralized entry point to a decentralized permanent storage. And one of the first things you do when working with Irys is you connect to one of our nodes. Now we have node 1 and node 2, which are used to permanently store data on chain. And we have a DevNet node. When you work with the DevNet, it's for while you're building and prototyping your applications. You pay for the DevNet storage using free faucet tokens, so it's really nice. So you don't have to spend any money while you're developing. You can pay, with Mumbai Matic, ETH Sepolia, any of these things. Node 1 and Node 2 are virtually the same. They both, whenever you connect to them, your data is stored permanently. You have a receipt, there's Provenance. But what's kind of neat, and we're going to take advantage of this in our next app, is uploads. We subsidize small uploads on Node 2, anything less than 100K. So in the next app, we're actually going to be building on Node 2, not the DevNet. And it's done really because I want to show how you can 100K really is a lot, and it can be used to create some really interesting use cases. And right now it's completely free to do that. So when you connect to a node, first step you do is you connect to an Irys object. And you say, okay, you pass in the URL of the node. Here I'm passing in node 1. Token you want to pay with. It could be any of the 14 we support. And you pass in a private key. This is how you work on the server. In the browser, we have a class called WebIrys, which is virtually the same, except it uses injected providers, so it'll use the private key from the user's wallet. And the first thing you do is you fund a node. Now, you can either do lazy funding, where you figure out exactly how much each upload is going to cost, and you fund just that amount. What a lot of people do, though, is upfront funding. So people might think, okay, this month I'm going to spend 5 SOL for my upload. So they'll upload 5 SOL, and you'll slowly subtract from the balance. The reason a lot of people like upfront uploads is that upfront funding is that it just reduces the number of interactions you have. It makes your app that much faster. Of course, you can always withdraw excess balance. If you thought you needed 10 SOL to pay for the month, you get to the end of the month and you have 5 SOL left over, you can always withdraw that. Now, once you've connected to a node and funded a balance, we have these. The main thing you do is you call irys.upload. Irys.upload, you can pass a string or sort of any binary data here, anything that's ones and zeros, and it gets instantly uploaded. This takes seconds, and not even seconds. It'll come right back. And what's neat is your data is instantly accessible through our gateway. We use optimistic caching so that we ensure that even though the transaction might take 20-30 minutes before it's finalized on Arweave, it is instantly available through our gateways. You don't have to wait for that to happen. We have some wrappers around the upload function. Here there's one called upload file. There's another one I didn't show here called upload folder. Upload file, you can pass in a single file. That file gets uploaded automatically. You can download it instantly. Upload folder is cool. Upload folder, you pass it in an entire folder full of files. Those they get uploaded all at once, and when they come back, you're able to access them through their original file name. You'll get a transaction ID, and it's basically transaction ID / original file name. You can download the file. People who do things like NFT collections will use upload folder. They can create 1,000 or 10,000 images, upload them all at once, and then continue to access them through the original files that were, or through the original file names. And what's cool, okay, so it's super easy to upload stuff, right? Well, it's super easy to find stuff you uploaded too. When you use Arweave, really this is an Arweave function that we inherit because we built on top of it. But when you use Arweave, you can tag stuff. I mentioned this earlier. Those tags are all indexed and are those tags are indexed and queryable. Why is that hard to say? Queryable. The tags are indexed and queryable, which means you can almost use it as a database. You can upload things, you can store it there. You don't need to track the transaction IDs yourself. You don't need to do anything because you can always query based on those transaction IDs. Now we're going to get into that when we code an application pretty soon. All right, so we are going to code an application called Merry Pointmas today. Now, when I was when I was thinking about what to code today, I was, I guess all anybody talks about these days is points. Everybody wants points, right? And I get it, you get money, and then free money is nice. But I think there's definitely an obsession with points right now in our community. And so I started thinking about, what if I created some sort of app that users could use, almost like a point app, But what I would use is I'm going to use Irys to store one proof of points. So when a user gets a point distribution, we're going to store that proof of points on our Irys. And then we use the query path, and that gives cryptographic proof that, say, Luke earned 20 points on this day. We have cryptographic on-chain proof that anybody can query at any time. That way, you know, the producer of the app isn't lying, isn't doing anything else. You've earned those points. There's on-chain proof of those points. And then we're going to use the query package to basically, you know, to pull off the points that you've earned, and pull off the points you earned and total them up. So we'll be using two things. One, Irys to create proof of points, cryptographic proof that you earned a certain amount of points, and then we'll use Irys query package to figure out how many points you've earned. I modeled it like an advent calendar. I don't know. I think everyone knows what an advent calendar is, at least if you're, I don't know. Whatever, an advent calendar is this thing that happens close to Christmas time, where it's this calendar that they have these doors that opened up, and it counts down till the 25th. Each day has like a bit of chocolate or something in it. I think they've been making these things for hundreds of years, but they're definitely popular in families with kids, as kids get all excited for Christmas and count down. So I thought, well, what if we had an advent calendar that counted down? I went to the end of the year for New Year's because, you know, I guess I was trying to be non-denominational here. So it's an advent calendar, not so much for Christmas, but for New Year's. I know it's Gregorian New Year, so not everybody celebrates it, but a little bit broader than Christmas. And there'll be a point distribution every day. The point distribution is random, but then it's stored on chain. You can only get points once a day, and over the month, your points get totaled up. And that's how it's going to work. Now, of course, this is a demo, right? So there's definitely certain things that, if it were a real production app, would be different. Now I'm gonna post the link to the GitHub repository here. There we go. Posted the link to the GitHub repository. It's also down there in the description. You can follow along with me, or you can look at it later. Why don't we start with a demo? Okay, let's start with a demo first. All right, cool. So, all right, back to screen sharing. Back to screen sharing. All right, nice. You guys got this. Sup, welcome, Profi. These live streams are fun. I wish I could hear you though. It's one of the downsides of Google. Maybe we'll do Meet or something next time. Or one of the downsides of YouTube. Okay, so here we are. Here, the way you launch this is you pass in the name of the script and pass in a wallet address. In reality, there'll be some verification around it, but in this case, we're not doing it. Okay, first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to show you the app, and then we're going to start looking at the code, how it works. All right, so what happens? Merry Point Miss, I had so much fun making this old school CLI. I know Dawn will definitely remember learning computers that were like this, but it definitely brought me back to learning to code in my high school days. Not sure why. Maybe it was that history lesson that I started with, but I think I've definitely in this mindset of this old school stuff every now and then. And so when I was building this, I thought, well, why don't I create an old school CLI interface? And the nice part about it too is it allowed me to build a demo without having to spend a ton of time on like making an HTML browser interface. I know often I watch these demos and I'm trying to learn one thing, but to teach that one thing, that they have to create such a context of, you know, HTML and JavaScript and Tailwind and all this stuff. And going the CLI route means I can simplify my code a lot, but also have a lot of fun with it. Okay, cool. So here's the entry point. It loads up. Boop. Today's the 21st. And boom, look at that. Here we go. Welcome to day 21 of Point Miss. Ready to see what you're getting today? Press space to continue, just like an old school video game. All right, rolling the random point generator. You've earned 261 points. Press space to save. This is where it gets cool, y'all. Press space to save. Just like that, like seconds, right? None of that was fake. That all worked real time. Your points have been permanently saved on Irys. Here is your receipt. Now, I've truncated some of this because it'd be much longer, but there's the receipt ID, the timestamp. You can see it's the 21st at 3:29. It actually goes further to milliseconds. I just didn't show it. Here's the signature. And the deadline height, this is the block by which your transaction has to be finalized on Arweave. all this information, because the signature is here, and like I mentioned, it's much longer. I just truncated to make it easy. All this information can be trustlessly verified. So once you have this receipt, at any time in the future, anybody could use it to verify that that the transaction happened at this time and contained this data. Now I'll show you, if you go here into our docs over in Irys, our SDK, we have a nice function here called verify receipt. You can pass in a receipt ID and it'll verify the receipt for you. Now, if you want to be, truly decentralized, you don't even need to use our SDK. We also have documentation on what you would do to actually verify a receipt without it. All right, cool. So it's been stored on Irys. Next thing we say, okay, you've got 3,502 points. Come back tomorrow to earn more. The reason there's so many points here is, because I was developing as I was building this, but the new points I just earned got added to my total. Okay, cool. So, kind of fun, huh? Right? Well, I had to create something that wasn't, just the normal demo. Okay, so here's the code, right? When you come into it, you'll notice there's two files. There's point miss. Now, point miss, Mary point miss. The point miss is our UI code, and we're not going to spend too much time on that. Using this library called Blessed, which allows you to create really easy, CLI interfaces, and also definitely with massive help from Professor ChatGPT, who helped me build it really quickly. But that's the file, and I intentionally abstracted it out. So you come in here, you can look at it if you want to learn about it, but if you want to learn about Irys, just ignore this, and you're going to spend your time here on pointmiss/irys.js. All right, okay, cool. So let's take a look at these functions. We'll go one by one through them. Here we are, get Irys. Now what we're doing here in get Irys, like I showed you earlier, we're connecting to node 2. You pass in a payment token. Now in our case, because our uploads are so small, we don't have to pay, but you pass in a payment token anyway, and you pass in a private key. Now you may ask, why do you need a private key if we're not paying for anything? That private key is used to sign the transactions, which is how you end up getting cryptographic proof of when that happened. I pull my private key in just through a env file, or is it here? Yeah, I've got it cloaked, whatever, doesn't matter. It's a throwaway key I created for this demo. And that's all you have to do it. This is how you connect to an Irys node. And what I normally do is I just create a little function here called get Irys that I can call from anywhere in my code, returns the configured Irys object for me. All right, so let's look at this function right here, store points on Irys. Watch to see just how easy it is. Remember I said you can attach arbitrary metadata to your transactions, and those metadata tags are totally queryable, right? So what I'm doing here, I gave myself just a generic application ID, Mary point miss. I pass in the address. Now this is the address of the person who's logged in. Remember when we launched the CLI, you pass in, I'll show you just so you remember. When we launch the CLI, you pass in your address. So this is that address. And then the number of points that were generated. That's it. Those things are stored as 3 metadata tags attached to the upload. Now the upload here, I just created a little string that says points and attached it. But this becomes an attestation that this is your proof of points. And because it's signed and there's a receipt attached to it, it's tied to my wallet address. The wallet address, it's tied to this private key right here. It's proof on chain that I said that this person earned this many points at that real-time date that was generated. It's full cryptographic proof of points. And it's pretty wild when you look at this. This is what, like 6, 8 lines of code here, 10 lines of code, that you can have this cryptographic proof, and it doesn't need to be something really long and confusing. It doesn't need to be lots of code, but really that's it. You can add, I believe it's up to 20 tags you can add. So that's it. This is our proof of points right here. Now, point generation, I just made, total random number between 42 and 420. But that's, yeah, I mean, of course, that's not really super random, but for a demo, it works, right? Now, let's look here at this one, get total points. This is an example of how we use the Irys query package, and it's pretty wild. So you remember earlier I said, okay, points was created. We had an application ID, address, and points. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, let's connect to node 2. And as I mentioned before, the query package is just a wrapper around GraphQL. So it really just makes your life much easier. If you don't know GraphQL, you don't have to learn it. Or if you do know GraphQL, you don't have to like mix and match 2 different languages in one. I don't know about you, but like sometimes when you put GraphQL in JavaScript, it all just starts to look messy. But this just looks much, much prettier to me. And I'm querying. I say, okay, I want to get just the tags because I don't need all the fields. I want this. So this is what I want to return, just these fields. And then what I'm querying on, I want everything that matches this application ID that I came, and then again this address, the address that the user logged in. Now I think some of you may be thinking, well, okay, you could fake this, right? Like anybody could push points to on chain, right? Because I'm just going off these 2 tags, Mary Point Miss and an address. So somebody who wanted to spoof this or maliciously give themselves millions of points, they could just push stuff. Well, what you can also do, I didn't do it here, but I want to show you real time, is you can also query based on from. So from is the transaction originator. So I could put in, it would be the public key that is associated with this private key. So you could put your public key right in there, and then you would have, it would be completely secure. There'd be no way to spoof it because it would only return transactions that you created yourself. All right, I need to do that though now. Okay, so that is how we're able to get the number of total points back. We're going to look at one more query, and this is the second query is really where Irys shines. I had it commented out in the beginning. I created a function called isEligible, and isEligible checks if you're eligible to claim points today. Basically, we're saying, okay, have you already earned points today? If so, come back tomorrow, because you can only play the game once a day. And the way that I check is I do a simple query. I say, okay, are there any points that have been posted to your name between the first millisecond of the day and the last millisecond of the day? So I look at an exact 24-hour period, and I say, is there any on-chain proof during that 24-hour period that you earned some points? Simple, right? Actually, it is. Look at this. I said return true for now because I was testing this all day, earning lots of points for myself. But so what I'm doing with this is I'm saying, okay, I take the current date. Oops, what are you doing there? And then just do a little bit of math to get the from timestamp becomes the first millisecond of the day. And then I go, okay, well, I want to get the last millisecond of the day. Same thing here. So I've got from timestamp and then my to timestamp. Start of day, end of day. Really, it's just bookending my day exactly. And I do the same thing here. Earlier, where I was querying to get the totals, it's this thing. What I'm adding on to it are these from timestamps and to timestamps. And then I just make sure, if the result is 0, meaning you haven't posted anything today, well, of course, you're still eligible. But if you have points, boop, got to come back the next day. And these timestamps really there's a lot of how Irys shines here is how you can use these timestamps. So it's not only using the timestamp stack to okay. One of the neat things about this is this is how you can really get into transaction ordering. So I talked earlier about Lens and how they're able to order their transactions on, you can create that feed, that social media feed. Well, that's how you do it with timestamps here. You can imagine that if a social media feed went back months and years, you wouldn't want to do the whole thing at a time. So you use the timestamps to pull out a slice of time at a time, and then slice of time at a time. That sounds funny. And then you can sort by those timestamps so you make sure that it's appearing in the correct chronological order. Now all of this is, where are you? All of this again is here on our docs site. And like these docs are my baby. So here in querying, there's a whole thing in query package. And it's great as you go through it, you can scroll down and it just teaches you there's code you can copy and paste into everything. Okay, how do you query by tags, how to do an AND query, an OR query, query by transaction ID, sender, which is what I mentioned earlier, transaction receipt, you can retrieve, query by the token, so you can mix stuff that was paid for with Solana, things like that, block height, sorting, all of that. You can just copy and paste this code right into your projects. So again, we went through the code already, and hey, where did you go? We went through the code already. This time I've uncommented is eligible, so let's run it one more time so you can see how the eligibility check works. Again, we're going back to it. Merry point miss. All right, here we go. Ba 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 ba. Do do do. And you've already. Oh God, there's a typo. You've already climbed points for today. Why do I see the typo now and not when I was creating this? All right, so you've already claimed points for today. Press Q to exit. And again, you've already seen points for today because this eligibility check finds points that were posted during today. Now that's it. That's how you create a simple CLI point distribution tool for your community using Irys. Right now, all the code executes on the client, which of course isn't very secure. I think in a real environment, you would take everything here and point miss /Irys, and you would move it to a you'd move it to a server-side process where you could actually track all that code. Before we log out, though, I want to show one more thing, and it's not really have to do with the demo, but it's something we released recently, just to make your thanks, Don. I've got one more thing, Don, about 5 minutes, and then we are done. Provenance Toolkit. Oops, Provenance Toolkit. So the Provenance Toolkit is our open source UI toolkit that for building, prototyping applications, getting them up and running super quick. And it's great. It's fully open source. There's a link to the GitHub down here, and it's components you can just drop into your application to access all of Irys functionality. Now there's a funding component. You can pick the node you want to fund. I don't know, I'll do this now. Or might as well pick the currency you want to fund. It's all configurable, so if you want to hard code the node or the currency, you can just do that through here. But where we got some cool stuff here is we have components you can use to upload files. So here is a uploader. Now I want you to watch just how completely okay, I want an AI file. So I've got this file here. Watch how quick this is. So here we go, upload. My browser or my wallet's gonna pop up, sign the transaction, boom, that's it, it's been uploaded, it's on chain, just like that. It's crazy how quick it is. You can see it right here, and you can also see the receipt. So this is a fun way to experiment with Irys, but also to have components that you can drop into your application. Go a little bit further, there's a progress bar uploader. When you upload, this one shows a progress bar. This is designed for large files like videos or something. The one I want to show you next is gasless uploader. Is that going? Now the gasless uploader uses a private key stored at the server to pay for the upload and sign transactions. So for people who are trying to build a real Web 2 style interface where you don't want your users to have to use a wallet, you can use the gasless uploader component. And again, just like before, super fast. This is all real time. It's been uploaded on chain, to our DevNet, but still on chain. And there's the receipt. We have some fun stuff here. There's an encrypted uploader. When you use the encrypted uploader, it uses lit protocol to encrypt your upload to encrypt your data before uploading it. And so it can be used for use cases where you want to build some product that there needs to be data security around it. You can see now when I go to preview it, it prompts me to decrypt it. With lit, you can set rules for how things are decrypted. And what I've done here is just set a rule that anybody can decrypt it. So it's encrypted, but the rules allow anybody to decrypt it. But if you go into the documentation, you would easily see how you could change that to create just the rules you want for it. This one's really fun, Solana NFT Minter. It uses the Helios endpoint so that you can just pick an image and it instantly mints it as an on-chain NFT, as a compressed NFT on Solana. So if you're building some sort of product and you want to have a user journey where at the end the user gets an NFT minted directly into their wallet, you could just fork this component, use this code, and you wouldn't have anything to worry about. Last one I'm going to show you before we jump over to questions. And actually, if you do have questions, I recommend you start typing them now because YouTube's sort of slow. Is our transaction feed. And the transaction feed is just a really good demo of our query package. What I'm doing here, let's go here. I'm looking on node 1 for GIFs that were uploaded and paid inside for with Solana. So you can see in real time, these are the GIFs that somebody's uploading. So I don't know, maybe this is a future NFT collection that somebody's creating, but these are GIFs that are being uploaded to Irys right now. You can see our DevNet, see what people are doing on the DevNet. All of this stuff is available. But of course, this, it's a nice demonstration here, but of course you could fork this component and do some cool stuff with it. Like say you were building, I don't know, what's a good example? Say you're building like like an Instagram type of app, some sort of photo sharing app. You could use our uploader component here to allow people to upload images, and you could use the transaction feed here to allow people to, to see the feed of images they've uploaded. So that's it. That's Irys in a nutshell. That's Irys in 40 minutes. I think the nice thing about these workshops is that when the tech is easy, when it's easy to understand, you can go through stuff really quickly. I know there's a bit of lag here in YouTube with questions, so I think maybe I'll just sort of talk like for 5 minutes, and if people have questions, type them in as I do that. If not, then you know where to reach me. There are links to Twitter and Discord are down here in the video description, so you can always reach me later. Let's see. Why don't I stop screen sharing while we do this? All right, cool. Any questions, please let me know, but otherwise we're going to log off soon. Appreciate y'all coming. This was definitely, I don't know, I like doing these things. They're a lot of fun. Well, I'm thinking there are no questions. So y'all have a fabulous Christmas, New Year's, holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I hope you take time off work. Hope you get to spend time with people you love, and hope you all get to relax, because based on what's happened these last 2 months with the beginning of the bull market, I think 2024 is going to be bonkers for us all. So hopefully you get to take some time off these next 10 days or so. Bye-bye, y'all. Adios. Thanks a lot for coming.